If your horse comes to the gate when they hear you coming, do you know what they're really doing? Most people think it's simple. My horse is happy to see me. End of story. But that moment at the stable door is one of the most emotionally loaded things your horse does all day. And if you get it wrong, which almost every owner does without realizing, you're not just missing a sweet moment. You're missing a conversation your horse is only having with you and no one else. Let's decode it. 1. They're reading you before you've even unlatched the gate. Have you ever noticed your horse behaves differently depending on the kind of day you've had? Most people think it's random. Sometimes he's calm, sometimes she's spooky, and it's just the horse being a horse. But the moment you walk toward that stable, your horse is already reading you. Research published in animal cognition journals found that horses can distinguish between human emotional expressions and actually change their behavior based on what they pick up. When horses were shown photographs of angry versus happy human faces, they responded with measurably different stress signals. Looking at angry faces with their left eye, the hemisphere linked to threat processing. And that was just a photograph. Imagine what they're picking up from your entire body as you walk toward them. When you come in stressed, frustrated, rushing, your horse already knows before you've touched the latch. Your posture, your pace, the cortisol in your scent, all of it arrives before you do. Some horses will stand back a little, not because they don't want to see you, but because they're being careful. Others will come even closer, almost checking on you. It depends on the bond you've built. Think about that for a second. Your horse is paying attention to how you actually feel, not how you say you feel. But this is just the surface. Because later in this video, I'm going to tell you why your horse waits at the gate specifically, and not somewhere in the middle of the field. When you hear the reason, it's going to change the way you see this entire moment. 2. They're doing something to your scent that most owners never notice. Ever notice your horse pushing their nose against you the second you arrive? Not asking for food, just pressing in? Most people think it's their horse being affectionate, or maybe checking for treats. But what's actually happening is far more deliberate than that. Horses have an extraordinary sense of smell. When you arrive after being away all day, you don't smell exactly the same as when you left. You've picked up other people, animals, places, food, the whole outside world. And when you arrive at the stable after a day away, to your horse, you smell different. You don't quite smell like home anymore. That intensive nosing when you arrive, the deep inhale along your jacket, your hands, your neck, that's your horse gathering information. What's changed? Where have you been? What are you bringing back with you? And for horses who are strongly bonded to their person, that assessment can be intense, methodical, almost urgent. In horse herds, scent recognition is the foundation of social identity. Horses identify herd members primarily by smell. When your horse spends 30 seconds just breathing you in at the gate, they're not being needy. They're doing something that, in horse society, is one of the most intimate things they can offer. They're confirming that you still belong. And if you come in smelling like another horse, especially an unfamiliar one, that greeting might go longer, more focused, more searching. They're not being suspicious, they're updating the picture. If your horse has been greeting you at the gate this whole time, and you're only now finding out what they were actually doing, hit like and subscribe so we can reach more owners who didn't realize their horse was speaking a language they never learned to listen to. 3. Some greetings are actually complaints. What if that enthusiastic greeting at the stable gate isn't really a greeting at all? I know that's hard to hear, but stay with me. Sometimes when your horse comes to the gate, they're not saying "I missed you." They're saying, "Finally, now fix something." And once you learn to spot the difference, you'll never see that moment the same way again. Here's what to watch for. A horse that comes to the gate and holds eye contact, ears soft and forward, maybe rests a lip against your hand. That's connection. That's the greeting you think it is. But a horse that meets you at the gate and immediately swings toward the field shelter, stops, and looks back at you? Sometimes that's an escort. They're walking you somewhere with a purpose. Usually food, sometimes a water trough that's run low, sometimes a fly situation in the shelter that's been bothering them all afternoon, and they've been waiting for someone with hands to do something about it. Horses are remarkably strategic communicators once you start paying attention. Research into equine vocalization found that horses produce distinct call types Depending on what they want, a low, rumbling nicker for contact and greeting, a louder, more insistent whinny for food or separation anxiety. These aren't the same sound, but most owners hear them as the same thing because they both happen when you arrive. So when your horse meets you at the gate, listen before you reach for them. Watch where they're looking. Watch what they do in the first 10 seconds. A greeting that leads somewhere is a request. Both are communication, but only one is what you think it is. 4. They knew you were coming long before you arrived. Did you know your horse can hear your car pulling onto the lane before you've even turned through the gate? That might sound like owner mythology, but it's grounded in real biology. Horses can hear frequencies up to around 33,000 hertz and can rotate their ears independently to locate sound with precision most humans can't imagine. The specific sound of your engine, your footsteps on gravel, the particular way you close your car door. Your horse has a detailed acoustic profile of you that they've been building since the first time you showed up. They're not waiting at the gate by coincidence. They heard you coming. But it goes deeper than sound. Horses are exquisitely sensitive to time patterns. Research into equine circadian behavior found that horses show measurable increases in activity and restlessness in the period before their owner's typical arrival time, not triggered by any sound but by internal anticipation. Their body clock has learned your schedule, and here's what that means in practice. When you're late, that greeting is different. Louder, more pacing, sometimes frantic, because for the last 20 minutes your horse has been sitting with a low-level uncertainty, waiting for a pattern that hasn't arrived yet, wondering if something went wrong. So when your horse is already at the gate before you've touched it, they haven't just noticed you. They've learned to expect you. 5. Your first 30 seconds set the tone for everything that follows. What's the first thing you actually do when you arrive at the stable? Be honest. Most people are still mentally at work, still on their phone, still carrying whatever the day left on them, and their horse is right there at the gate watching and getting a version of that person that isn't really present yet. Here's why it matters more than you think. Horses don't give you a second window for first contact. When your horse comes into the gate, they're extending something, an offer of connection on their terms. And if you walk past it, distracted, rushing, they register that. Not with drama, not with anger. They just quietly learn that the moment doesn't lead anywhere. And over time, this is the part that should matter to every owner. Some horses may stop making the effort to come forward at all, not necessarily because they stopped caring. Sometimes they've simply learned that the interaction doesn't lead anywhere. You arrive, you're elsewhere, and the moment passes without anything happening, so they adjust. But here's what's also true. It takes almost nothing to get this right. 30 seconds. That's it. Before you reach for the head collar, before you open the feed room, stop. Stand still at the gate. Let your energy come down. Let them come to you. Let them sniff, snuffle, do their thing. Be present for the length of one slow breath. That's enough. And over time, that small, consistent moment builds something that no training session can replace. 6. They're waiting at the gate for a reason that goes deeper than habit. The gate is the boundary between your horse's familiar space and whatever lies beyond it. And horses are naturally attentive to changes at the edges of their environment. That's not learned behavior. It's wired in. The perimeter is where things arrive from. It's the first place they'd know if something was wrong. So when your horse chooses to wait there, they're not necessarily just following a routine. They're choosing a place where they can see what's coming. And when you arrive and they're right there at that threshold, the thing they've been watching for is finally there. There's a shift that happens when you walk through that gate. You can see it if you're looking. The ears settle. The tension in the neck releases. The restlessness stops. It's the same kind of thing you see in a young child when their parent walks back into the room. The body just comes down. Your horse does this with you. So the next time your horse is already at the gate when you arrive, don't automatically assume it's hunger. Look at the whole picture. Are they watching for you? Do they come toward you? Do they settle when you arrive? Because sometimes that moment isn't just a horse waiting at a gate. It's your horse waiting for you.